So unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably been seeing headlines such as this one. This is from the New York Post. Home prices plunge most in a decade as mortgage rates surge.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a market update, a St. George market update. We're going to show you what do these headlines actually mean?
Yes.
What is the actual data telling us? You know, we're going to use real facts, not just headlines.
And also, most importantly, we want to let you know, okay, for you yourself, what makes sense for you to, how do you navigate this process?
Yes, because everyone's different, right? I mean, every market is different, so that's what we're going to talk about now. So stay tuned.
What's up, everybody? I'm Sean Azad.
And I'm Courtney Azad, and we're with Keller Williams Realty right here in St. George, Utah. And if you are interested in learning about everything there is to know about what it's like to live in St. George, not only St. George, but all of Southern Utah, don't forget to press on the subscribe button, and don't forget to press on the bell so that you're notified every time we upload a new video, because we upload new videos every week, and they're all about what it's like to live here, especially from the perspective of people that were not from here, right? So we're going to notice the things that you're probably going to notice. And speaking of noticing, we've noticed that a lot of you are watching these videos, but you're not pressing subscribe. So don't forget to press subscribe.
And if you're watching this channel, you're probably thinking, wow, Sean, I love St. George. I love the red rocks. I love the majesty of the Red Mountain. And I can't wait. I love Zion. I can't wait to be out there. The problem is I don't know anything about the St. George area. And I totally get that. That's why you want to reach out to us, because we can explain for you, what are the best places for you to live, because obviously it's very different depending on your situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is you want to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back. So we're doing this update based off of the most recent data. This video will probably be posted sometime near the end of September. So obviously September data is not done yet, right?
Yes.
Because the month isn't complete.
Yes.
So we're giving you for August, right? For basically the most recent data ended in August, and this is related to, St. George
Market activity.
So
now let's take a look at the numbers here, kind of put some, contextualize this so we can kind of go, okay, these are numbers, this is data, whatever, what does that actually mean?
Okay, so first let's clear this up though. Usually when you see these headlines, about home prices plunging, they're talking about from month to month, right? Because, Sean, talk about the spike that we saw in, the spring, and when, everyone saw that the interest rates were going to go up. So what sort of frenzy did that create?
Well, yes. Okay. So when we're looking at what happened, particularly in the spring, mid-spring, honestly, all this whole beginning of the year, it was just an absolute frenzy. Historically low inventories, so few properties actually that were on the market for sale. And people I think people got the sense that the interest rates were going to start rising. So it just created this just urge in this this FOMO, this fear of missing out, of just buying a property no matter the cost at all, just to get in and lock in those lower interest rates before they start to move up.
Yeah, so basically what happened is, prices went up a lot.
Yes, yeah.
A lot. And then they have started to creep down from that peak.
Yes.
Right. So, this headline in particular, let's talk about it. So they're talking about how it went down from June to July, 0.77%. So
month over month, yes.
Month over month, not even 1%.
Yeah, 0.75%.
Roughly. 0.75%. But if you look at year over year, so if you look at, that was just, national data. But now let's talk about St. George. So if you look at the year over year, so the median sales price of a home in Washington County in August of 2022 was $549,000. Mm-hmm. And the median sales price of a home in Washington County in August of 2021, so this is 1 year ago, was $495,000. So it is up
over 10%.
Almost 11%.
Yes. Yeah. So basically with all that doom and gloom, and yet like Courtney was mentioning, we were at there was a crazy spike. We saw legitimately, we basically saw 10 to 20% spike in values within a couple month period of time, which is absolutely bonkers. So you have this curve of appreciation, right? And then you have this, in this curve, you have this pop within it. And then it comes back down because interest rate starts to take in, people go, okay, this has now become at those high levels unaffordable to an extent. Let's take a breather. And so the market has come down off of, especially those spikes, but for sure.
Yeah. And I'll show you a graph to show. So you can still see though that even though it went super high, in the spring, it has come down a little. But even compared like a year earlier to now, it is still up, right?
Yes, up almost a healthy 11%. So, and when they say like the worst decline since 2011, again, because the housing market hasn't really declined since 2011, and for the most part, right? I mean, I know that we've had some softening, like every blue moon or whatever, but overall, the market has been incredibly resilient since, about that 2011 timeframe. That's when the market really started to actually, really 2012 is really when it started to really take off, and it's been taking off for about a good decade. And there's even other headlines I've seen, like inventory, the highest spike since, again, 2008, something kind of crazy like that.
So the inventory of homes for sale is 1,346 homes for sale in Washington County as of August 2022, compared to 815 in August 2021. That's up 65%. But when you have inventory that is that low,
yes,
it's easy to go up 65%.
Yeah, and when they say the highest since, they're not talking about like the gross amount, right? They're talking about the highest increase percentage-wise.
Yeah.
So when you're up at an ultra low percentage, like ultra low amount of homes on the market, of course, any sort of bump is going to be magnified because it was so low.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to kind of take into account what is the rate of change, like the percentage, as opposed to the accumulation, because ultimately your supply and demand curve is not going to go off of rate of change primarily. It's going to go off of what's a gross amount of properties that are on the market, as opposed to, let's say, what it was before.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about we have, we're 65% higher inventory year over year, right? And part of that has to do with, obviously, homes that were priced too high, sitting in the market for no longer, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of keeping homes on the market for, so more homes in inventory. But what we're also seeing is that it's not like this thing where, like a lot of times, like these pundits will go, "Oh, we'll see that we're going to see inventory like skyrocket,"
like we did in 2008.
Yes, and that's what we're not seeing that at all, because actually, in fact, new listings year over year are actually down
almost 14%.
Yeah, so they were like, so it's like, obviously you would think, based off what the pundits are saying, that new listings would be up another 6,500%, whatever. They're in fact down. So that they're actually they're making that inventory level ultimately going to be shrinking.
Yeah, so the number of new listings in August 2022 was 572, and in August of 2021 was 664.
Yes.
And why do you think that is? Like, why are sellers deciding not to put their homes on the market?
I would say there's a couple of reasons. One, they don't have to sell because we're not.
So this is the key difference between 2008.
Yes,
right?
because
people had to sell.
Yeah, like people were underwater, and in general, that's not the case at all. Like to buy in St. George, in this St. George metro area, like especially in the last year or so, you had to put realistically you had to put a good sized down payment. So and plus a lot of people that were existing homeowners, they were riding this appreciation wave. So they have equity. There's no real distress in mass. I mean, not to say individual cases, some people might be in distress themselves, but realistically, even if they are, okay, just sell your home and you'll actually get money from that sale. So there's no real urgency to have to sell at a discount overall. Again, without with one-off cases. And then on top of that, what's also keeping let's say keeping homeowners from putting their property on the market is that so not only do they not have to sell, but two, maybe they don't want to sell because they're locked in on low interest rates. So they don't actually have any necessarily huge incentive to sell at a discount. And what are they going to do? Buy, let's say they want to add another bedroom to their situation. Well, is that bedroom going to cost them, ultimately consider the higher interest rates and maybe the higher price? Is that one bedroom going to cost them $1,500 more per month? Maybe it's not that compelling of a proposition for them. So what we're seeing is that we're seeing less urgency in multiple ways for homeowners to put their properties on the market. So I just don't see, again, further softening could certainly happen. I just don't see a crash happening, because for a crash to kind of happen, that supply side of the supply and demand curve really has to shift where there's just a huge amount of supply. And I'm just not seeing where that's going to come from.
Yeah, and so another reason that supply might actually go down even more is in this report, they actually do say, so this...
Like home builders?
Yeah, home builders in particular have slowed construction because obviously, land is expensive right now. Materials are expensive.
Labor is expensive.
Labor is expensive. So home builders are pulling back. So what's that going to do? That's going to even further decrease supply, right?
Yeah, and also, let's not forget that prior to the market shifting, the narrative was we have something like 3.5 million. We're at a deficit of homes of 3.5 million, something crazy
for the
like
United
that.
States.
Yeah, for the United States. So that means that there's a finite supply of homes that are available to move into. Period.
Yeah, because the population is growing.
Well, the population is growing, and honestly, since the 2008 financial crisis, home builders have never picked up the pace that they had prior, right? So we've been so we've had much less homes being built and developed than what was necessitated. And so what you add to that now is that home builders are going, wait a second, okay, maybe the demand isn't there for a certain price point that they're at, but it's not like their costs have actually gone up. So it's not so they're going, okay, well, we're not going to build homes to lose money. So what they'll do is they'll just kind of pause it. They'll just go, okay, well, let's wait. Let's let this storm pass. And then maybe so at least, or they're going to slow down their developments at very least. So what's going to cause a problem is that we're going to exacerbate the problem of having less homes available in aggregate than what the population needs. So let's not forget some of these things that were in the past that were promoting, explaining why home values were exploding. They're still valid. It's just that obviously we're dealing with a different interest rate environment. But again, don't get twisted. It's not. I can't emphasize enough. I don't see where this massive amount of properties is just going to hit the market, to severely discount, home values.
Yeah, because that's in 2008. I mean, people were so underwater; they couldn't make their payments,
and banks were just fires. So they were failing.
Yeah.
So you just saw all these foreclosures, all these short sales,
and also people had no skin in the game either. They're like, "Well, I'll just let go of the house. I have no money in it."
Yeah.
Right?
So you had to have a heartbeat. You had questionable credit, no income verification, no down payment, no job verification. So you're going, okay, well, you don't have to prove anything. These days, to get a loan, they're basically taking your DNA. They want to know everything about you, as far as the lenders are concerned, to lend you the money. So one, you're putting down a sizable down payment, especially what was leading up to this shift. People are putting down 20% plus, many cases. And then also your average credit score, I think is about 752, the highest it's ever been. People have equity. You're going, okay, well, short sales. That's completely negated. A short sale entails that the property is worth less than what's owed on it. We still have a ton of equity, generally speaking, in this country. So there's not really this, again, huge short sale situation that's going to happen. And I'm failing to see where, when people are in distress, they'll just sell their homes at market values and still be, still pocket a nice couple $100,000 basically out of the process. So I fail to see where we're going to see a crash. Again, further evidence, I'm not saying there won't be a softness for sure. That's certainly a possibility given what's going on. Yeah. But as far as a crash, I'm just not really seeing where that's coming from.
Yeah, and then obviously, nobody can predict the future. Yes. I mean, you want to give your example about when you thought...
Yes. And so having said all that, can I tell you with 100% certainty a crash couldn't happen? No. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that. But I'm just, and if you have any ideas as to why it should actually crash, because remember, all the components of homes, as far as building a property to replace a property, is expensive. It's expensive for the material. There's tons of different material.
Give your example.
Yeah. But I'm just saying I'm just saying a baseline. And plus also remember rents are up. So let's just kind of keep that.
Yeah, rents just keep going up no matter what. And people have to have a place to live, right?
Yes. And again, what we know about rents is that they don't tend to go down.
Mm-hmm. Even in 2008.
I remember in 2008, I was kind of surprised what's going on. If anything, rents are going to cost. No, because all these homeowners, let's say, had to get out of their homes. They had to get a rental, and so they're paying way higher rents, and so the rents still went up. So I'm failing to see where the market would crash. But having said that, for instance, if you're asking me in 2018, I remember late 2018, the sentiment was that I would tell people I don't know what's going to happen with the real estate market. One thing I do know with 100% certainty was that that the interest rates were going to be higher tomorrow than today. It was going to be just one of those things where 6 months down the road, it was going to be higher because the Fed that was everything they were signaling. And then they completely did an about face and started getting dovish. And again, completely contradicting every signal that they were having prior to that, that heel turn. I don't know what happened there. It was kind of crazy, but it shifted, and it was a kind of this crazy thing. So what I could say here is that I will, I've learned my lesson. I will never say 100% because I don't know, but at the same time, again, I'm just kind of logically linking the links. I just don't see where a crash takes place.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, like you can't predict the future because nobody can predict the pandemic. And that would have made, housing prices just skyrocket in a way that nobody would have ever predicted,
Exactly.
right? So, I mean, weird historical things can happen.
Exactly. And actually, in spite of all this, we are actually technically, if you actually look at the technical metrics, we're actually technically in a seller's market.
Yeah, okay, so that's a point. So for the data for St. George, so
the average days on market.
The average days on market for a home to sell in
today,
August of 2022 is 34 days. And a seller's market is 90 days and below. So we're still in a very strong seller's market.
And it sounds crazy. I mean, I'm not going to dispute that because it certainly doesn't feel that way. But again, the data is the data, right? So it's 34 days on market on average. So you're going, okay, well, if it's 34 days on market, that's actually still, by historical standards, pretty fast. Now, of course, like if we're comparing it to a year ago, it's like 16 days. So yeah, it sounds terrible compared to a year ago, but that's crazy low. Like just about 2 weeks to for a property on average. Because again, I've been in real estate through all different cycles. I saw properties sitting on the market for 6 months plus, and that were actually not way overpriced and stuff like that. And that's actually taken into account, despite the fact that we are dealing with sellers that, that are going off of, let's say, old data, or maybe when they put the property in the market, they were thinking, oh yeah, basically, if a property sold for $700,000, then I can price my property that's kind of similar for $750,000. So that $700,000 was the next stepping stone to a higher price. And what we're seeing now with the market shifting is that $700,000 was not the next stepping stone, not the next floor, but the actual ceiling. So people had to, if they were priced at $750,000, $800,000, of course they had to drop their price because they're not, that's not market value, and people just aren't going to overpay for the most part in this market. So, you're just going to have to, so they have to get either have their property still on the market, pull the property off the market, which we do see too, or they have to drop the price. But it's not like necessarily the properties went down tremendously. It's just the sellers way overshot the mark.
So I know that we've gone on forever and ever.
Yeah.
And this is pretty general, right? So, and everyone's different. You may be wondering, what does this mean to me, right? Because, if you're thinking about buying it, maybe it is a good time to buy for you. Maybe it's not. It's not necessarily a good time to buy for everyone.
Yeah.
That's why you got to reach out to us, because everyone's situation is different.
For sure. Yeah. And that's where we have that talk. And a lot of times, people are relocating here, for instance, they're selling their home from where they're coming from and they're buying here. So it's not like they're just kind of making a wash, a wash as far as they're selling to buy. So it's not like they're in a situation where they're just putting fresh money into a new purchase. So for them, it makes sense. They want that. They don't want a home like a landlord. There's always going to be some sort of a premium to home ownership, because people at the same time, again, the American dream is to own your own home, right? So that's where people are willing to take that leap, because they want their own home. Again, inevitably, real estate has shown that it's gone up in value over the course of history. So it's kind of like, well, when are you going to get in?
So that's it. That's our video.
And remember, we are licensed realtors in the state of Utah. So as much as we love making these videos, what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a house, what you want to do is you want to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back.